There is no way this is real. It is real. We are back. We're gonna make a little we are gonna talk about this day of price action, how you could have traded it, how I traded it. So I haven't made any videos really. Um, just for a quick little recap, July started off, pretty rough because I was traveling. I wasn't really, I don't know, locked in. But now I'm doing a whole lot better. I got some more payouts coming in, and yeah, I'm doing better either way. I thought this was a little bit of a weird day, so I was like, fuck it, and let me talk about it real quick. So, what is the thought process behind this day? Well, we have midnight open right here. What happens? We went higher, swept the high. We are going lower, lower into this very likely retracement in order for us to go higher, right? Very likely. But here's the thing. Here is the thing. Okay. When you see this, right? Is this a retracement? Sure. Is this a displacement? Sure. Is this a relatively clean gap being made? Sure. Perfectly. Yeah, sure. So what can I not do? Preferably trade against this. Why? Because if I got a really good move like this, and then I got a really nice gap here, even though on a higher time frame this is likely to go higher, we can very easily still see a retracement, resweep, fail to make a new gap before we go higher, right? This right here and this right here is essentially a resweep of liquidity of the hourly based on a 4-hour context, right? Golden time frames. What you use on a 1 minute, a resweep, an SMT, you can use on an hourly too, right? So again, I'm going into this with the expectations that we're likely to retrace, resweep this low, and then either, because I don't know, at the time I have no idea what's going to happen, but at the time I'm saying, okay, we're going to likely retrace, resweep, and then we're either going to displace through, right, and create new gaps, or we're going to disrespect and we're likely going to head towards this high and eventually towards this high, right? And how do you, okay, the next question somebody might have is, how do you determine that this high is the retracement or that it's the displacement above? Well, you ask yourself the same question on an hourly time frame. If this is an hourly context and we resweep this low and we fail to disrespect them and we fail to create new gaps, if we then displace above this high, creating bullish gaps, that is likely telling you what? This was not the retracement. This is just a displacement to the upside and we're likely heading for this high. Okay. Either way, that's kind of beyond the point because I didn't even trade it, but I still wanted to, mention it. So again, this hourly gap is giving me context right now. What do you do when you have an hourly gap? You go to a 5-minute time frame. However, for the sake of it, we will go to this 15 minutes. I know a lot of people, okay, we're going to talk about something you shouldn't have done. I know a lot of people who took trades based off of this 15-minute gap. Why is it wrong? First of all, is it inherently wrong? No. I will say it is not inherently wrong. You are not incorrect for looking for shorts here. However, there are a few signs which should lead you, of course. First of all, it's an hourly context, so preferably we want a 5-minute. The 15-minute is fine, but preferably the 5-minute. Okay. Second of all, right here, we sweep the lowest low of the gap before the gap is tagged. we then close super bullishly inside of this gap. The second you see something like this, at a very minimum, you should be expecting some sort of choppiness. Very rarely will we sweep out this low, close this bullishly, and then still go fucking down. Very rarely that will happen, right? So you need to be thinking like this. Okay, hourly context, resweep, 50-minute gap, rejection candle. Okay, gap isn't invalid, but let's look for proper entries. Okay, the key point here is there is no proper entry here. And I want to say, in these kind of cases, what happens? The high becomes the retracement. What happens when we sweep the high? We create no gaps. There's nothing here. So what does this high become? It becomes your retracement. And you can take a 1 minute trade off of that. Why can you take a 1 minute trade off of that? Because you're no longer trading the hourly. You're trading 50-minute now. You were expecting this gap to hold, which you were incorrect in. Obviously, we see now, again, you're not wrong for thinking it, but there are some clues that tell you that there's high likelihood we wouldn't. And then we sweep the high and reject the high. Again, lack of displacement. The high becomes the retracement. Either way, it is also just the fact that when we make this low, we retrace and then we resweep the low, right? This is hourly context. So what do you want? You want hourly gap. You want an hourly gap here. The fact that we're getting a lack of displacement below this low, right? Lack of gaps, lack of displacement, lack of volume. That is another indication to you that, this is likely stalling, chopping, doing something in order for us to go higher. So again, that's kind of explaining why this gap didn't work. However, I wanna just take a moment, because even if you wanted to take a trade off of this gap, it's like, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Really amazed. Like, we had this little SMT right here. Disgusting. Disgusting. All of these candles. Like, I don't know. Like, my point is, none of these displacements lower are significant. There's nothing. There's nothing here. I don't get it. Either way, besides the point, that's not the trade I took. The trade I took is based again off of this hourly context that we're going to resweep the low. What happens? The most obvious shit. You need to genuinely be special in order to not see this entry. If I tell you, what is the most obvious selling candle here? Do you see it? I hope so, because if not, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay, that's the point here. It's fucking obvious. We tag the hourly gap. We get a 5-minute inversion. Now you might say, wait, but what about this gap? Well, first of all, this gap also got reversed. But second of all, why is this gap of matter? What do we get? We got exactly, realize by the way, realize how this is exactly the same thing that happened on the hourly time frame. The difference is just the time frames. What happens? Displacement, retracement, resweep of high. Although we had a nice displacement, the hourly suggested we're going lower, we end up inversing. You never got an opportunity to long this gap. The second this gap is inverse, this gap doesn't matter anymore. Why? Because it already got used. We don't really care about it anymore. We want to see this inversed. So essentially, I took an entry off of this with a stop loss on this, looking for my trust old 1-2-1 break even here. Well, I won't break even here. I'm not gonna say that I would be here. and that was the trade I took. And yeah, man, that's actually I wanna talk about something real quick. Okay, I wanna talk about some because a lot of people may say to me, okay, Matthew, but on a day like today, look what type of entry we got. Isn't this the same kind of entry that the people that took the 15-minute gap yesterday lost on? No. No. Don't disrespect my entry like that. Realize this. Realize this. To clarify, the inversion is the most important part. But if we are solely retracing, it means fuck all most of the time. What happens here? Green candle, green candle, green candle, green candle. One small inversion. Where is the order block? Where is the swing low? All the way down here. This needs to be broken or displaced through before we even go lower. On this next move, what happens? Green candle, down close, green, green, green. Again, it's all the way down here. Next one, green, green, green. What happens? Every single time we have a move down into this, I'm only viewing this as a retracement. Straight up, right? Same thing goes here. And then boom, look, look, look. Just take a look. Okay, appreciate this. Say this is random. Say whatever you want. But the first time we got a what? Fair value gap. Respected. Resweep the high. The same exact context with the hourly, right? But on a 1 minute, fair value gap, reswept. So reswept high. Inversed. And the last series of down close candles displaced through. Realize how the first time this happened, all of these candles, the first time that candle happened that took this out, ended up playing out to the downside. I don't know about you guys. I don't think this is random. Now, furthermore, you might ask, okay, what's the difference? Well, let's look. Green candle, green candle, green candle. Oh, but the green candle is all the way here. No. Are you blind? What is this? This is not a green candle. What is this? This is creating the high. Now, I will agree, if this didn't make the high, yes. If this right here was lower than this, yes, you would use this. But the fact that this candle right here happened and essentially separated these candles from this candle, and this made the high, my bad, this made the high, this becomes your change in the state, right? Your order block, whatever. You have, again, displacement through it, obviously shifting. You have what? You have a bullish gap, respected, sent you higher, and then you have another gap, inversed. Nice displacement through the gap, nice displacement through the order block, decent displacement overall. Not very good, but compared to what has been given, it's not terrible, right? And it's, again, it's the same context. High, fair value gap, or retrace, resweep, a small little consolidation here. I mean, it's 4 minutes. Displacement through this gap, and you fucking dump towards what? Very prominent target. A lot of the times it's the 930 low. Now, yeah, that's all I really want to talk about. I just wanted to clarify the difference between why this is a good, sure, I'll give it a good, why this is a good entry versus why the yesterday's entry is complete shit, right? And again, to clarify, it is all to do with this right here. When you're, okay, I'm gonna leave it at this. When you are entering, you either want to entry when the market does this, boom, right? You either want to entry when the market is doing this, okay? If the market is doing this, essentially, right? You do not want to entry just on the first inversion here. You want to look for these candles, right? Because if this was all just green, 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 any retracement or any move down into it, I would just consider straight up retracement. Nothing else. Either way, I feel like that's enough. And I don't even know if this is going to be posted. Let's hope so.